Unmute yourself, Rachel. I think we are live. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to what I think is maybe our 4th town hall this year. Maybe it's our 5th. We're really happy to have you here with us. Tonight, you will hear about the academic program for next school year, 21-22. But before we get started, I want to make sure everybody can understand what is being shared. So I'm going to pass the microphone over to our phenomenal Kathleen Vega with our Family Engagement Office.
Thank you, Dr. Monares. I'm just going to go ahead and switch to Spanish so I can explain our interpretation instructions. Bienvenidos a nuestra reunión hoy. Le voy a dar las instrucciones para la interpretación. Si lo tenemos disponible en español para esta reunión, va a ir al icono del globo abajo de la pantalla que dice Interpretation. De allí va a hacer clic en Spanish para español y luego Mute Original Audio para que no se oigan los dos idiomas. Voy a poner las instrucciones en el chat también y por cualquier pregunta o si necesita apoyo con interpretación o otra cosa, por favor, mándanos un chat en la cajita de chat. Muchas gracias. Go ahead, Selena.
Thank you, Kathleen. And so today we definitely want to hear from you. We're going to be going over 2 different ways where you can submit your comments and questions. During this presentation, we do ask that you use the chat to provide any comments or questions. We will have live questions and answering following the presentation, and we will also be monitoring the chat. The other way that we are going to also take comments and questions is if you have a personal question, we ask that you please text message to this phone number on the screen, which includes your question, your child's name, the school site, and a callback number. And Dr. Menares is going to go ahead and explain to you just why we did the update. Thank you, Dr. Menares.
Thank you, Selena. So yes, if you've participated in any of our town halls, you may be wondering, why do we have this new and improved system for sharing personal information? And so as a school district, we have to be careful of sharing students' information. We are beholden to confidentiality laws. And so we put a new system in place so that we can keep getting better at providing service to you as families. And so if you have a question that is specific to your child, you can we ask that you send us the message through the text message, and we promise that someone will get back to you so that you can have a personal conversation that is private and confidential about your child. Tonight, we are going to share general information about the academic program for next school year, and a little bit of a reminder on the safety protocols. So that's the why we keep getting better as a district. We want to make sure that we're protecting the private information of your children and still giving you a vehicle or an opportunity to get your questions answered. With that, I'd like to introduce our interim superintendent, Dr. Harold Volkemer. He will lead us through a basics for excellence. And if we have our board president online, he will introduce her as well. So Dr. Volkemer, you're on.
Great, thank you, Dr. Menares, very much. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to be with you this evening. Hopefully give you some good information and answer as many questions as we possibly can. Before I share a little bit about our basics for excellence, I do want to acknowledge that I believe our incoming superintendent is here with us this evening. Doc, if you can just say hi. He didn't want to necessarily speak, but you can raise yourself to the speaker view. Are you there, Doc? Maybe he hasn't come on just yet. But I do want to give our board president, Dr. Gwen Dowdy Rogers, a chance to.
Harold, I'm here. They had me muted. They had me muted, Harold, but they did allow me to unmute. So anyway, welcome, and I'm happy to see all the parents and everyone here this evening. Thanks, Harold.
Great, thank you, Doc. Good to see you. And with that, I'll ask. I think I'm pretty sure our board president is on with us this evening. So Dr.
Yes, I'm here.
She is.
Thank you, Dr. Volkemer, and thank you, Doc Irving, our incoming. Wow. Things are moving, and thank goodness to technology. They did unmute me though, so that means I guess I can talk a little. No, but I do want to say to all that are on, I was just thinking about like what Dr. Menard says, so many town halls, but I do want to just commend the team again and just let you all know, I'm hearing about it in the community. This has been great, you know, having these town halls so our community and our parents and even our students, which we definitely want to hear their voice, can weigh in and provide, you know, information and gather it and then go back and share it, you know, in their neighborhoods and on their jobs. And we are one big community. So this is important for me to come on, to be able to hear and know and be able to also answer questions and hear what our community is saying, you know, how we can be better and do wonderful things. So I appreciate you all just sticking with this, continue to do it. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell everyone, come on, because the more you know, the better we are. So thank you to the team, and thank you for allowing me an opportunity to give a few words.
Thank you, Madam President. We appreciate you being here as always. So I'm going to move into our basics for excellence. And if we could go to do we have the second page of the basics with our speed of trust behaviors on them? And I'm seeing the looks like, yep, you would ask for that, wouldn't you, Harold? So apparently we don't. So, well, I'm gonna improvise then. On the back half of the document you're looking at, we have 13 speed of trust behaviors, and all of these basics and our meeting guidelines and our mission and vision and values from our community engagement plan and our 13 speed of trust behaviors are all designed to remind us who we want to be as we're doing the work we're doing. And so as I reflected on tonight's meeting, I wanted to highlight one of those speed of trust behaviors that are really important to us as a school district. And it's speed of trust behavior number 3. And you can't see it, I apologize, but I'll read it to you. It says, create transparency. And underneath it, the bylines are declare your intent, get real and genuine, be open and authentic. And that's what we're going to try to do this evening in terms of our planning and where we've been. We're going to declare our intent, and our intent is absolutely positively to get back to 5 days of full-time instruction. The governor has said that on June 15th, we're going to reopen the state, given some conditions about vaccine availability and that type of thing. That means 5 days of instruction. So that is our intent. We are declaring that. We are fully preparing to bring kids back to full-time instruction come August. We also know that there are some families that may not be in that place just yet where they're confident about the safety of their children returning to school in person. So we are going to provide a virtual opportunity and option for those families. So that is our intent. We're going to declare that tonight around our programming and what that will look like. But we want to get real and genuine. If we've learned anything in the last 14 months, it's that this can change very quickly. And we're not completely out of the woods yet. If you read all the science, if you read what all the doctors are saying, they're saying it's still there, it's not over, and things can change. And so we're being very mindful to go full force toward what we want to occur, but being real and genuine and open and authentic, we have to be prepared for just about any option. And so that's why we've adopted the theme, prepared for excellence and ready for anything. If it should turn, and we've seen it happen before, but we're certainly not hoping that it will not happen again. But if it should turn, we're going to be prepared for that. And what that option looks like, we don't quite know yet. It'll depend on the conditions, but we are going to be ready for anything. And so the news is good right now. Case rates are down, vaccination rates are up. Everything is trending the way we'd like it to be trending to suggest that we're going to be able to do exactly what we'd like to do in August, and that's get back with our kids, get our team back in place, and do what we do best in terms of educating our kids. So this town hall meeting is for you. We're excited to be here with you, and let's get to it. I'm looking forward to what our team has prepared for us. Thank you for a few minutes, Dr. Menares.
Thank you, Dr. Volkemer. Okay, so we're jumping right in. So if you've been watching our board meetings, and I'm sure many of you have this slide, you're probably, you can rehearse it and say it with me. Our board has reopening guideline principles. They have not changed. So you know that first and foremost, ensuring the health and physical safety of students and staff has been in the forefront of all decisions being made while adhering to federal, state, and county guidance. And you heard Dr. Volkemer speak to what's going on in the state of California, and we're very happy to be preparing for a 5 days a week, all day opportunity like we all know and love in terms of what we call school. So that those are the guidance, that is the guidance we're following at this time. And as long as vaccines continue to increase and positivity rates decrease, we can continue to offer that. Providing high quality learning experiences is always what we are about as a district, while keeping our employees working in safe and accessible working conditions. Tonight, we are going to focus on these high quality learning experiences for next school year. Next slide, please. And so again, if you've been following our board meetings, you've seen this progression of instructional models. Just want to point out that what we are preparing for next school year is phase 4, in-person learning, with an option for distance learning. So really kind of a phase 1, if you will, that we're calling Virtual Academy. So tonight you will hear about what the academic program and the social emotional supports will look like, what specialized supports for our students with active IEPs, what that will look like, all for phase 4, all for 5 days a week, all day. And then on a different day, and you'll hear a little bit about the Virtual Academy, because we are asking you to make a choice. We need to know who's going into virtual. Everyone else we know will go into phase 4. So tonight is about giving you that information so you can make that informed choice. The next slide shows, so you can switch the slide, shows the same instructional model in Spanish. So again, everything we're going to share is going to be about phase 4, 5 days a week, regular schooling that we know. We'll give some information on the Virtual Academy, and we're going to have one more town hall later this week that's only for those parents that want to hear more about the Virtual Academy. So without further ado, I think I'm going to be turning it over to Ms. Anna Applegate. She is our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, and she will talk you through what's happening tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Monades. And yes, I'd like to welcome everybody to our town hall. And as Dr. Monades stated, specifically tonight, you will be hearing all around educational programs that are going to be available when your students come back for in-person learning. We're specifically going to be speaking about what the educational day will look like instruction-wise and the programs that will be available for your students. So next slide, please. So here is our agenda for the day. We've done our welcomes and stated the objective. You will be hearing an update on state and local rules for reopening. We will specifically be telling you about the options for in-person school programming, and then you'll hear a little bit more detailed explanation of what the Virtual Learning Academy is. So if you've decided to keep your child in online learning, you will hear all about the Virtual Learning Academy and what you can expect with that. And then we will also have time for some questions. And as been stated before, you can also put your questions in the chat throughout the presentation. Next slide, please. So here's what we know as far as educational program. You will have 2 options when your students come back to school in August, on August 2nd. You can choose either to come back for the full 5 days a week, pretty much the way school looked before COVID hit. So that will be 5 days a week, complete day, all day long. And you will hear a little bit more about the instructional program that will be offered throughout the day. Or if you decide that that's not for you and that you wanted to keep your child in distance learning, we will talk to you about the Virtual Academy options and what that looks like, the instructional program there. So it's either full 5 days of instruction in person, or you will, if you stay in distance learning, you will be choosing the Virtual Academy option. You will be getting a survey where you'll be able to indicate your selection on which type of learning experience you want for your child. And that survey window will open May 13th, and it will be open until May 29th. And you'll hear a little bit more about that when we present the Virtual Academy option. Next slide, please. So no matter what you choose for your child, whether you decide to have your child come back in person 5 days a week, or you choose the virtual academy, just know that we are providing quality, rigorous educational programs no matter which option. Your children will also have access to wellness and social emotional support. And just know that also if you select the in-person option, we are very committed to adhering to the COVID safety measures, as you will hear about that a little bit later as well. So either option will be a quality option, and we'll be very committed to following safety guidelines in the in-person option as well. Next slide, please. And I believe I'm turning this one back over to Dr. Monares.
Actually, Ms. Applegate, this is Eric. I'll be taking that.
Oh, hello. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good evening, families and community. So we know that tonight's primarily around the upcoming educational options that you'll have, but we did want to take a moment to remind you of the safety measures that we discussed in our last town hall meeting and that will be in place. So our school district receives weekly and sometimes daily updates from our state and county public health officials. I myself am on conference calls with our county Department of Public Health at least 5 times a week, getting routine updates from them and from the state of California. So we have a good handle on the things that are coming. These are some of the basic safety measures that we've all learned as the primary means of keeping each other safe through the pandemic. So what you'll experience is a pre-arrival self-evaluation. We're going to ask that you check your kids before you send them to school. We do that in our household, make sure everybody's feeling well. And if they're not feeling well, report that to the school. We will have pre-entry temperature scanning machines that will also check to see if the child and our staff are wearing their face coverings correctly. Face coverings are still mandatory. So there's been a lot of buzz out there about being vaccinated, not needing to wear it. We know in our environment, as far as education and in buildings and in a working environment, that face coverings are going to stay mandatory for a little while now. There will be exceptions and exemptions if your child or our staff member have a medical accommodation, and we'll work through that individually with you. One of our other guiding principles through COVID is minimizing large groups or mixing of groups. So we're going to try to keep the groups small and together so that we don't have the mixing. And then should a child start exhibiting signs and symptoms of COVID or need to be evaluated, we'll have an isolation area within the school. We'll have staff there that's trained to evaluate them and talk to you as a parent, give you a call, find out what's going on, if it's allergies, if it's asthma, if it's something new, and so that we can work with you to keep your child in school. We're going to be avoiding the sharing of materials. So we're not going to have kids sharing a bunch of stuff. They'll all be assigned their items. The allowing for additional ventilation. So in all of our classrooms, we've placed HEPA air scrubbing units. So this is, in essence, giving us hospital grade air quality in the classrooms. So this is a huge endeavor. It was a huge step that we took to make sure that the air quality inside the classrooms is at top notch. And then we will have available for use hand sanitizer, and we'll be encouraging the kids to wash their hands more frequently than we did in years past. Next slide, please. So how should you expect to receive this information? What we've asked each of our schools to do, because we know every school is different, every school community is different, and you're really a part of that community and a part of that campus. So we've asked each school to engage the school stakeholders and the community members with their procedures and protocols. So we can have some blanket ones from a district level, but we know on each campus movements will look different. Bell schedules may be a little different. The gates that your children come and go from may be a little bit different. So we've asked each of our schools to build their plans and then share that with you through their school informational meetings. Those are going to be held May 17th through the 24th, and you'll be getting more information from your child's school site on that. And part of that is to make sure that we're communicating the procedures with both the campus staff and the families and letting you have some dialogue so that you have full understanding of what the safety measures are going to be. Next slide, please. So some of the school procedures that may not look the same as they did pre-COVID. So we're all having to learn how to adjust and how to move around, and we go to the store and places. So some of the modified school procedures that you're going to see is our staff's arrival and screening. They're going to have to do self-evaluations, and they're going to have to go through the temperature screening. Recesses and transitions are going to look a little bit different. Lunches, dismissal, restrooms, these are all individual plans that we're asking the schools. We're setting some parameters and asking them to work through what those may look like and share that out with you. Symptomatic individuals, so students that may be exhibiting COVID type symptoms, how those students will be handled and how you'll be communicated with as a parent, right? We don't want anybody overreacting or underreacting to potential symptoms. We all know that kids come to school and may not feel well on certain days, and we want to make sure that they're treated respectfully and that you're involved in that to determine what the situation is. Some of our staff common areas, so you think about lunchrooms for our staff members, those are going to be used a little bit differently. We don't want 25 of our teachers in the same space having lunch together right now. Same thing with our student common areas. So the assemblies that you may be used to that were on campus, the large performances and the plays that drew all the parents into a confined space probably will not be happening early on until we get more information from the state and county as to the relaxed restrictions. And then we talked about the classroom materials, visitors and volunteers. I believe we're going to be touching on that in future slides, but there will be an allowance for you to visit the school or volunteer at the school, just assuming some natural precautions with COVID. And then we do have enhanced cleaning and disinfecting. So we know it's important to keep schools clean normally. And this is just going to be an enhanced version of that. And we are using safer chemicals. We've actually went through a very rigorous vetting process through the state of California. So they have a Healthy Schools Act that allows us to use certain things that are actually safer for kids, especially with asthma and stuff like that. It'll be less harmful. So I hope that provides you with some reminders of our safety precautions. And then I'd like to turn it back over to Dr. Funches. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Bikendova, I believe. And team, I'm hoping somebody can hear me. Dr. Bikendova there?
She's here.
Okay, she might be muted. We'll get her back in 1 second, team.
Sorry, it was not unmuting. There we go. Yeah, let me unmute. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm Marlene Bikendova. I'm the Director of Positive Youth Development. And a lot of questions were being asked about attendance for next year. So what I have to share is that the state and the county has not released our guidance on this area yet. But we definitely expect that attendance is going to go back to pretty much the regular way that we do attendance in the district before COVID. So these questions here will be answered as we get information from the state. In particular, I know that people are worried, okay, what if there's a student in my class and my kid has to quarantine or we have to send kids home? So that is the question that we did already pose to our county and state resources, and they are going to be getting back to us and explaining to us what we will do in that case. So hang in there. As soon as we get more information, we are going to be sharing that with you guys in terms of attendance. So thank you so much. And next, I believe it's back to Anna Applegate.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Bikendova. So just a reminder that we do want to hear from you, and for any personal questions, we do have the text option available so that you can put your child's name there, your school, and a callback number. And we have several district employees here, directors, who can answer those questions directly for you. So we just wanted to remind you of that. We do have that option available. I see that many of you are also using the chat. So our directors are on here as well as our assistant directors, and they're answering questions as we go. So thank you very much. Next slide. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about returning to in-person instruction. So what is that going to look like for students? Next slide. So what is the actual instructional day going to look like? So we talked a little bit about coming back 5 days a week. So you can expect your child to be here for the entire day as they were pre-COVID. And you will see specifically some of the times there for elementary, middle, and high. We will also be sharing some preschool times. So you will be seeing all the different instructional levels and the schedules that pertain to those levels. And then more specifically, what the instruction will look like with some of the supports as well. Next slide. So for in-person learning, we want to make sure that all students are still getting their standard-based instruction. So at all levels, elementary, middle, and high school, including preschool, we're looking at the instruction the way it used to look before COVID hit. We also are going to share with you several academic and social emotional learning supports that have been developed. Our district developed an accelerated student achievement plan in collaboration with all divisions and different departments to make sure that we have those supports embedded in daily learning for our students so that they're able to recover any unfinished learning. We know that it took a pause during COVID and that some of our students will need that additional support. So we are going to share in detail what we're doing above and beyond our base program. So we have improved our base program greatly, but we also have many supports above and beyond that will be helping our students to be able to recover some of the learning. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about outside the school day, what other opportunities are available for our students, because we want to try to do as much as we can during the school day, but there will also be options outside of that as well that we will be sharing with you. Next slide, please. So I would like to go ahead and hand it over to Ms. Latasha Kelly, and she is our preschool director, and she'll be sharing with you what the preschool day would look like.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Latasha Kelly, Director for the Child Development Program. Our full-day infant, toddler, and preschool program will return in person July 1st. Our hours of operation will be 7:30 to 4:30, and our class size will be 8 infants, 12 toddlers, and 12 preschoolers. Next slide, please. Our part-day preschool program will return in person August 2nd. We will continue to have an AM session and a PM class session. And the class size will be 12 children in each class session. Thank you. Next slide.
And now we'd like to introduce Ms. Michelle Cleveland. She will be going over the student technology.
Good evening, everyone. My name is, let's see. All right. Good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. My name is Michelle Cleveland, and I am the Director of Accountability and Educational Technology for our students. Our technology access and devices are going to continue to be a huge component of our instructional program moving forward. Our students in grades 3 through 12 will continue to be one-to-one, and they will bring their devices to and from school. Our scholars who are TK to 2 will have a device at home, and then they will also have a device at school. So in theory, they will be 2-to-1 students. As we move forward throughout the year, we are going to be continuing to provide technology support to our families and to our students and to our staff. We are continuing to push forward with educational technology professional development for all of our teachers around a number of tools, including the Google Education Suite, which serves as our learning management system. We are really excited that one of the silver linings that has come out of this pandemic has been the opportunity to create equal access for all of our students with technology. Bringing our district one-to-one in less than a year is a huge accomplishment, and we are really excited to continue to move forward. Next slide, please. In addition to all the work that we've done around technology, we are also excited to bring to the district a district-wide TK through 12 student assessment system. We are bringing the NWEA map to the district next year, and the NWEA map suite is a research-based, standards-aligned universal assessment system and support tool. It will be used across our district, TK through grade 12, and it's going to give our educators an opportunity to really assess our scholars to see where they're at and the progress they've made in our virtual learning environment over the course of the past year. Because it is standards aligned, it's going to give us an opportunity to see their readiness as far as areas of excellence where they're really exceeding, and then their areas of growth. And it's going to allow our educators to create individualized learning plans to really support our students and meet them where they're struggling and help them to continue to move forward. In addition to the assessment, the MAP suite is also going to offer us tools to support our early literacy, early numeracy, and then for our older students, some skills-based acceleration for the students that might be struggling in some of those math and reading skills. We're incredibly excited about how this system is going to really become the foundation for our instructional program. I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Venkatasan, who's going to take us through that instructional program that we're setting up for.
Thank you, Mrs. Cleveland, and good evening, everyone. My name is Sudha Venkatesan, and I'm the Director for Secondary Education. This slide shows you sample schedules for elementary, middle, and high school. As you can see, the new school year 21-22 will begin with all schools resuming their regular schedule that was existing pre-COVID. And we are very excited about the opportunities for universal access, which means designing learning experiences to meet the needs of all students through differentiation. And it will be provided to students daily at all levels through the site master schedule and based on student needs. Next slide, please. So this slide provides the details of the instructional focus for San Bernardino City Unified School District when our students come back for the next school year. All students will receive standards-based instruction in ELA, math, science, social studies, PE, and world language curriculum. The ELA and English language development framework for K-12 will be used to promote an integrated and interdisciplinary approach to literacy and language development at all levels. Teachers will continue to use this framework to promote cultural diversity, multilingualism, and biliteracy as valuable resources and assets while teaching the content standards. Teachers will be using evidence-based, culturally and linguistically responsive instructional strategies to teach the core curriculum. Students will also have access to numerous elective opportunities like visual and performing arts, AVID, career technical education, and student leadership, just to name a few. Next slide, please. An SBCUSD follows a multi-tiered system of support called MTSS to improve outcomes for all students. So MTSS is a multi-step process of providing instruction and support to promote the academic and behavioral success for all children. Individual children's progress, a child's progress is monitored and results are used to make decisions about further instruction and intervention. There are 3 tiers in this system, and we will be going over them in the next few slides. Next slide, please. So what you see here is tier 1, and this is for the whole class and all students. Universal instruction and intervention are geared to meet the needs of all students. Students will have core classroom instruction on academic, behavioral, and social emotional for all students. Flexible student grouping and differentiated instruction is built into the first instruction. Students will be grouped into small groups that address different strengths and areas of need within the regular classroom. Universal screening and benchmark assessments will be administered to gauge the students' level and on how they are progressing in learning the grade level standards. At a school level, these universal screener data will be used to identify gaps in tier 1 instruction that may need to be addressed through additional teacher training in order to increase the teacher skill and knowledge, or by acquiring more instructional resources that may be needed. At the classroom level, the universal screeners will help start the discussion about students who may be struggling or could begin to struggle if supports are not provided in a timely manner. Additional diagnostic assessments will be done for students that are having some gaps to see what type of support the students need. These diagnostics will also help us plan the type of intervention that is needed for the students and also the potential need for the tier 2 instruction. All students in tier 1 are taught with methods that research has shown to be effective and instructional strategies that are culturally appropriate and linguistically responsive. I would now like to introduce our Director of Elementary Instruction, Tasha Doizon, to go deeper into tier 1 structures for early literacy. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. So this year we were very excited to pilot our early literacy guest teacher program in every single elementary school. So the purpose was to support teachers in teaching the foundational skills. Those are those skills that you need in order to learn how to begin reading. And so we piloted that in our TK3 grades. Each week, the guest teachers received a professional development every single Monday. And so in which they were taught key skills and research-based practices in order to support our students in small group instruction. So due to this program, the guest teachers were able to focus in helping our students learn to read in small group format during universal access times. We were able to see increased engagement and progress. And next year, we are excited to expand this program so that each school will have 2 guest teachers, 1 for literacy and 1 for math. Again, a core foundation of this program and its success is built around the professional development that they will receive. And then they are in turn able to take that back to the students. Next slide, please. I'd like to introduce Mr. Jaquez, Assistant Director of Student Wellness.
Good evening. My name is Mario Jaquez. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Wellness and Support Services. We know now more than ever that there's a need to address the social emotional needs of our students and staff. So we're committed to meeting their needs by providing supports and curriculum to address the social emotional well-being of all learners. And so what this will start with, we'll accomplish this by providing a core program for all students. So there will be tier 1 social emotional, there'll be tier 1 social emotional instruction provided to all of our students. This resource will be provided to all teachers and be utilized in the classroom and beyond. These direct instruction lessons will create a climate and culture that sets high expectations and provides high levels of support to ensure that students achieve. Schools will utilize proactive and restorative classroom practices. For example, we've created lessons to help teachers develop the practices of community building circles. Community building circles allow students to deepen their awareness and self-management and expand their social awareness while strengthening relationships with their peers and their teachers. These lessons and instruction will be integrated into the daily lessons and academic conversations. Teachers will choose instructional practices that are inclusive, engaging, and relevant to provide opportunities for students to practice their new skills in a safe and welcoming environment. Next slide.
So tier 2 supports are in addition to continuing tier 1. So every student, tier 1 is what every single student receives. Tier 2 is just that next step up, that extra layer. So tier 1 is about getting all students every single day what they need. And tier 2 is about making the instruction more targeted and geared toward what a student needs. So some examples of additional supports in tier 2 could be more targeted support in small group beyond their regular class time. It could be more frequent progress monitoring. So like you teach, assess, just to make sure with those small mini goals that they're meeting those goals. It could also be the instruction using different types of modalities or hands-on type learning to make sure that the students get what they need and are able to move on to the next level.
In that same vein of academic support, we also will be providing Tier 2 support for our students' social, emotional, and mental health needs. And so our counselors are present at every school site to support students with interventions in small groups, such as coping strategies for students suffering from anxiety and depression, self-management groups, and attendance support. Students can be identified through data-based decision-making. They can also be referred from teachers, family members, and students can even refer themselves to additional support through the counselor.
So finally, moving on to Tier 3, that's that third layer. So you have Tier 1, which is the base program. You have Tier 2, which are more structured and targeted supports. And Tier 3 is considered the intensive supports. So a student who falls into Tier 3, it's important to know that we don't stop Tier 1 and Tier 2. We give them all of those. So those are very important to make sure. And frequent monitoring of the student to measure progress is very important component of Tier 3. So it will be, just to kind of put it simply, it's more time, more often, more explicit to the student with more personalized one-to-one support. Other services like wraparound services, individual learning, it's really geared to what the student needs because our ultimate goal is the success of the student. Next slide, please.
Our Tier 3 supports are individualized to the individual student. And I think that's the most important part that we want to highlight. So students who have an additional mental health needs beyond what the school counselor is able to provide will have access to mental health therapy through our Heart team from our Swiss department, or through our community-based partners such as Victor Community Support Services and Uplift Support Services. We have a wealth of community resources to support not only our individual students, but also their families with their mental health needs.
And then in addition to what's taking place during the school day and also at the school sites, there's an additional layer of support. So some additional extended learning opportunities available to all students who are currently enrolled include summer school, which we are in the midst of heavily planning for right now. We also have intersession, intersession is more of like in between those breaks. There might be a short mini session where students can come in and get extra support. So typically those happen during spring break or winter breaks. And this year we are having summer school for all. We have before and after school programs, which you'll hear about in just a moment. We also have Saturday school, we have tutoring. Brain Fuse tutoring is available to all students. You can access that through your child's Clever account. You can go on, it's live tutoring 24 hours a day. It could be, it's really amazing. So you can go on, again, it's on their Clever portal and you can click in, and that's available for all students TK-12. So it's available for all. These services and opportunities are available to all that you see listed here. And now I would like to introduce our director for our CAPS program, Mr. Dennis Warman, to talk about the before and after school programs.
Hello, everybody. This is Dennis Warman, director of CAPS Expanded Learning. And CAPS is prepared to return to in-person this year and this coming year. And we will continue providing our snack, our supper program. We're going to have academic programs and recreational activities and enrichment activities as well. We will continue to operate from dismissal to 6 p.m. each school day. We have sunrise program at selected elementary schools right now. We have 20 schools. We will begin at 7:15 a.m. and go to when school starts. And this is important right now too, is that applications are available at this website right here. It's also on the district website under CAPS. So registration is going on right now for next year. And just another couple things too is that for our summer, CAPS is going to participate with the regular school day during their regular school hours, and we will not be running a separate CAPS program. We'll just be assisting the teachers during the summer school this year. And I'm available for specific questions. You can always email me at dennis.warman@sbcusd.k12.ca.us. And I'll put that in the chat as well for you. And welcome back.
Good evening, everybody. Beatrice Gonzalez, Director of Family Engagement. Today, I have the privilege of talking about volunteers and visitors. So we are encouraging volunteers and visitors, but we ask that everyone respects the guidelines regarding physical distancing in large gatherings. Volunteers and visitors will be limited in number and expected to observe all district protocols for COVID-19. All district visitors and volunteers will also be required to use PPE while on school sites and interacting with school personnel. So we still encourage it. Obviously, if you have any questions, speak to your principal and just to your site leaders, to your staff, and they will be able to provide you with more information. But this is all based on our board policy, our COVID mitigation plan. We are encouraging visitors, but we're encouraging visitors, again, to respect the guidelines. We're making sure that everybody knows the numbers are going to be limited as a result of COVID and that everybody's going to be required to use PPE. An important question that keeps on coming up is, can parents bring lunch to their children? And the question that I was provided was yes, as long as they're not interacting with other children. So again, I encourage you to look to your site leaders for further direction. If you have any questions, you can call my office. I'll put the number on here as well. We're here to support you, and we're happy that you're all coming back. So thank you. And I'll pass it on to Dr. Rodriguez.
So this is your opportunity to ask questions. We see that there's lots of questions in the chat, and we're doing our best to keep up with the flow of questions. So I'm going to refer this back to Selena to look for any questions in the chat. You may also ask your questions through our text message. We know that many of you guys are on phones, and so or on YouTube. So this is you have the opportunity to ask your questions via text, and we will certainly get back to you. Selena, do you want to go ahead and look at our chat hand raised for questions?
Yes, Dr. Rodriguez. Miss Suzanne Reyes has her hand raised right now. Let's see. Miss Reyes,
yes.
first? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Turn that down, Kaylin. I was on your guys' last town hall meeting, and I have two children that one has a 504, one has an IEP. Dr. Landry, I can't remember how to pronounce her last name, but the Director of Special Education, she asked me to send her my contact information on the chat box and that she would be in contact with me with the questions I have concerning my two children that have special needs. I haven't heard anything at all from her.
So I'm here. I'm Dr. Lindy.
Okay, I sent you my oldest daughter's lunch number. I sent you my cell phone number. I sent you her name, and you told me you were going to get in contact with me at the last town hall meeting. I have unanswered questions about how am I supposed to proceed with the new school year concerning my two children. One has a full IEP. I have a transitional annual coming up on May 26th of this month for my son who is transitioning to TK. My other daughter who has a 504 plan, and nobody has contacted me. She didn't even have an annual 504 earlier this year when it was supposed to be done.
Okay, I apologize for that. I did try to reach out to you. So I'm sorry that you didn't get the information. All I can do is say that we apologize, and I can give you my phone number and you can call me directly, but we definitely did try to reach out to you.
What we can do right now, Ms. Reyes, is I can actually put you in a breakout room so that you can talk to Ms. Lundy, or to Dr. Lundy in the next couple of minutes. So I can just assign you to a breakout room for both, just the two of you, so that you can have that conversation.
And then my second concern is I've already did the CAPS application online. I did it back on May 3rd. Okay. But I don't know if they received it. They haven't contacted me. Is my child or two of my children going to be in it? One, I also did, like I said, my son is going from Harmon Preschool Inclusion Program, but his age, he now has to go to TK. I did the online school application, submitted documents, everything. I want to make sure my son, they received the application and that my son is going to be enrolled at the same school as his two sisters.
I can add Mr. Warman to that, the CAPS director to that breakout as well.
Okay. And what about the new application for my son? I did it, I submitted documents, but I never got confirmation that he's going to be at Vermont Elementary with his two sisters. You know, I'm doing everything that you guys are asking. You guys are sending me, oh, enrollment's open, oh, do it early, fast, before class close up. But then nobody is contacting me via email or nothing to let me know, okay, you're good, everything's fine. Because I have disabilities that I can't be doing things at the last minute for my mental status.
Dr. Rodriguez, if you can put me in the breakout room and I can figure out if her TK student was, what the status is on that.
Sure, I'll do that. If you're okay with that, I'm going to actually be moving you to the room now.
Thank you.
Okay, you'll do it, or is there something I have to do? What do I have to do?
You'll have to maybe accept the move to the breakout room. So I'm going to send that now.
Okay.
Ms. Reyes, just click join.
Click what?
Just click join. Or you can locate the 4 boxes on your screen somewhere, and then you should just be able to click join breakout room or join.
I don't see the 4 boxes.
Not coming up yet. I'm doing that now.
Oh, okay.
Just give me a minute. Trying to figure this out.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and go on to the next question. Selena?
Miss Compton, are you there? Miss Asha Compton, I think you're still muted. Can I unmute you?
Yes, I think I unmuted, and then it was like, okay, anyway, we're unmuted. I'm unmuted. So I want to say thank you so much to everyone, because I know it requires a lot of teamwork and there's a lot of moving parts. I'm asking for my children, 4 in the district, and they're asking me if there's going to be any sports, any school sports. So I want to know if that's going through CAPS or how that's working out. Thank you.
Hi, this is Marlene Bikendova, and yes, we are having sports, and they will be, of course, slightly modified, but we have been doing sports and we'll continue to do it into next year as well. So look out for any announcements from your school in terms of kids trying out and getting up the team. Thank you.
And then Livy Servan, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Livy Servan.
Hi, yes, I'm sorry, I was having an issue with the muting and unmuting. Yes, I actually have a couple questions. First of all, good afternoon, and thank you for the informational meeting. As far as our choices, let's say I do go with the Distance Learning Academy. Does my child lose his spot on his homeschool? That's question number 1. Question number 2, say again, let's say down maybe a month or 2 down the road, I decide I'm not liking what I see in the academy. Is he able to go back to in-person instruction, or is he going to be denied a spot? How does this work?
So your student will be able to go to, if let's say, they're in the virtual academy and they find out that it wasn't really for them and they want to transition back to regular school, they are able to do that, as well as vice versa. people were asking about their spot at their home school. And because this year is going to be very interesting with teachers moving over to the virtual academy and capping and lots of stuff, we can't necessarily guarantee that your student will be able to go right back to the school they were at. But we can hold the slot, and when a space becomes available, then you would be able to transfer over to the campus that you wish to attend. So we're trying to do our best to make sure that you have your preference. It may not happen like within that week, but we will do everything that we can to put your student back where they started out last year.
Okay, I have another question. It's in regards to like the health. If, for example, my student, he has asthma, and for him, a smell or allergies would trigger a cough. Is that going to be a constant where I'm having to go check on him, or the fact that he has an actual record with, like, he usually has an inhaler at school? Is that going to, I mean, am I going to be called every time he has a cough or some kind of symptom that resembles COVID, which would be a cold-like symptoms?
No, you will not be called on that. We are bringing in people who work in the health profession. We're going to have what we're going to call a COVID liaison at every school. And so they will be able to identify if this is indeed a COVID related cough or symptom or asthma or something like that. And the benefit of this COVID liaison is that they will get to know the students at the campus. So with time, everyone will know that it's asthma related. Now, of course, we'd rely on you to know when it's beyond asthma, but you won't get a call every single time.
Okay, I also see on your presentation that students are required to bring basically their devices to and for from school. But just like anything, kids sometimes can't keep track of their planners. For example, you guys will have a backup for students that do not happen to take their computer. How does this work?
We will have backups for our students, just like if we would have pencils, right? We'll make sure that they have what they need.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. We have Jean Winbush up next. If you'd like to go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Miss Jean Winbush.
Yeah. Can you see
Go
me?
ahead. Yes. We
Okay.
see you and we hear you. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. One, I have one student that's special ed. And concerning with the face mask, he has the sensory thing. He's not going to be able to wear a face mask all day. Is that going to be a problem?
No, it will not be. So that'll be part of the plan that the school has with your child, and there will not be an issue for you.
Yeah. I apologize, I couldn't
Okay.
unmute myself. There will actually be, towards the end of this presentation, the various accommodations and supports that are in place for our children with special needs.
Okay, and then I have one, I can't remember if it's on file or not, but he has asthma. And him wearing the face mask a long time, he has a hard time breathing. Is that going to be a problem with him? He's going to be second grade.
So, of course, we're not going to have children wear something that is not safe for them. If you could, what would be ideal is if you can get a note from a doctor, then we can put that in file, and then we would have absolutely no problem with that. So we would,
okay.
It would be like an accommodation, right? So if you can get that, and then that would go to the school, and the school would have that. So
how soon do I have to have that?
Just before school starts.
And you start the 2nd of August?
Yes, unless you're doing summer program, and then you would need that before that. But yes.
And he is going to be summer program, so I have to try getting him in before then.
Yes, so by the end of this month,
Okay.
I think the summer's like what, yes, that would be
Okay,
ideal. Thank you.
I'll try.
Okay.
Okay, and then the other thing is, I don't know if you know, but how's transportation going to work for special education kids?
So if you have that service in your IEP, then you will have that service provided for you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to continue going in the order that the hands are being raised. Our school staff and directors are in the chat still answering questions actively. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand or let us know in the chat, and we will go ahead and call on you in the order that we receive those notices. Mickey Alexander, go ahead and unmute and ask your question, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I have a few questions. I'll just ask all the questions and hopefully I can get those answered. So one was CAPS. I understood that they'll be on campus. So my question is, why not just do the whole day with everyone else? So that was my first question. My second question was for the hybrid. I know this was something that was strongly suggested by parents last meeting. So I'm just a little confused on how come it wasn't addressed this go around. My third question, going to the tier 2, when we were talking about tier 2, my question there is, are we gonna have more counselors on staff to support this? Because a lot of it just seemed that it was going around, we needed to have more counselors. My next question is around teachers. I know that the board keeps saying that they don't want them coming back. We don't want to force them to come back. So I just wanted to make sure that their last poll, we have enough teachers to support it, especially not saying that you're gonna get in trouble, i.e. if you don't come back. My next question was around, I think you kind of answered it, was around headphones, because I know my kid, his headphones get smashed every couple minutes going back and forth in his backpack because he goes to the Y. So just making sure that we had enough headphones. I know that's something that's not major, but just keep that in the back of our heads. My next question was around testing. I'm really anti-testing as far as it being, especially with minority groups. So I just really feel like there's no need to test these kids, especially right now. I know my kid doesn't get tested because I've already signed up for that, but I just feel like they don't need to get tested. So we need to take another look at that, especially right now around COVID. And then my very last question is around transfers, whether it be inter-district or out of district. Are the policies for that, have that changed, especially around reopening school and or COVID? Thank you for your time, and hopefully you got all the questions. If you didn't, I'll unmute again.
I think
Dr. Menards, I can take the question on school counselors. So right now we have one school counselor assigned to every school site. We are looking at increasing our the number of associates that we have that are able to provide mental health supports to our students through our heart services. And then our high schools and middle schools have more counselors depending on their enrollment and the number of students that they have there. And so one of our strategies is to be proactive with our tier 1 social emotional supports. And so as we go into summer school, having daily SEL lessons that will support students and help them with those regulation skills and with understanding themselves. And then as we go into the fall, ensuring that we have a tier 1 curriculum for all teachers to teach to their students to support the social emotional learning and their mental health.
Good evening, everyone. I'll take the teacher question. This is Marcus Funchez, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. And I'd just like to start by saying that our educators have done a fabulous job this year with distance learning. And we want to continue that as we look at what we need to do for the virtual option and in-person learning. So with that being said, Ms. Alexander, one of the things that we're doing right now is working behind the scenes to make sure that we have a clear understanding of the virtual option, and then make sure that we have staffing for both virtual and in-person learning. But we will have the teachers there. We have the teachers now, and we will have them for these 2 options as well. So thank you for that question.
And I'll answer the transfers question as far as in-district, out-of-district transfers. We continue to operate under regular procedures. So the only difference would be when you have a student who goes from the virtual school to back to their home school. There's a process for that. At this point in time, there have been no changes to our process for enrollment or in inter-district transfers.
Mickey Alexander, was that all of your questions? All the answers to your questions, I'm sorry?
No, still the caps, the hybrids, and the testing.
So I'll speak to the hybrids. So we are not offering a hybrid for next school year. Our two options are to return to school the way we all know it, 5 days a week, every day, all day, like we grew up with, or a virtual option for a family who needs that option. So a hybrid will not be offered, which I think is why you said the follow-up to your CAPS question was why not just be there all day, right? If I remember correctly.
That is correct.
Okay, yeah, so no hybrid, but CAPS will be available at the end of the regular school day, until the 6 o'clock hour.
Correct. I was, but with CAPS also, I was asking about summer school. I know they're going to be on campus, so why not just do the full day with CAPS?
I see.
Yeah, CAPS generally in the summer doesn't operate the before and after school programs with CAPS. Because school is out, they offer enrichment activities during what would be a regular school day. It's an extended learning opportunity. And so because the programs at the campuses are not a full day, it's a good question. I can look at that to see if it's something that's feasible for us to offer so that the program could be at least be what a regular school day would be. But I'll check on that and then I'll get back to you. If you can, Ms. Alexander, if you could put your email in the chat and then I'll make sure that we respond back to you.
And I'll answer the assessment question. I do understand that we know that our state assessment can be difficult for some of our populations, obviously including our kids who are second language learners. That can pose a challenge. But we also have assessments that are more authentic, that the school sites themselves give, that are skills-based. And those assessments are pretty straightforward and really help us to assess where our students are as far as meeting their standards, but also their personal levels of where they are. And so especially now with the pause that we had this last year, it's important that we use these more authentic assessments at the school sites to figure out where students are so that we can then activate the support that they're going to need in order to get ahead. So I understand that the state testing can be a difficult challenge, but each school site does work to assess their students the best way that they can so that they can provide some interventions and further support for them.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys answering my question.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you. Up next, we have Ms. Catalina Castillo. Please unmute and go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Some students want to keep working from home with homework packets. The virtual academy or homeschool independent studies that is being offered will take students away from their schools, and you can't guarantee that their current school placement will be saved. So why not let our students stay at home working on homework packets and keep their current school? Every year you have parents sign up student-parent compact. So adjusted contract to fit the needs of all, and placement discussion can be revisited during parent-teacher conferences. The other thing would be like, as a parent, do we have to sign COVID waivers? Is the district going to take responsibility if our students get COVID? And how would you handle the COVID absences? I heard during the last meeting that, let's say my student comes to campus and she gets COVID, she needs to quarantine. So she's going to be absent for what, 14 days maybe? And then let's say another family member, because we live in the same household, gets COVID. My student again would have to quarantine because she's living in a home with another person that has COVID. And let's say we have 10 members in our family. How long is my student going to be quarantined? How is that going to affect her absences? And if she's already going to have to stay home working on homework packets because of the quarantine method, why not just give us that option from the very beginning?
So I'll have Angela Urquides, our Director of Alternative Programs, as well as Atlas, respond to the question about the packets in terms of what the independent study program looks like. I just want to say this. The current law that exists, SB 98, states that distance learning at a regular school will sunset June 30. So any type of alternative program that we've been offering, or the flexibility to offer other types of programs at our schools, ends on June 30th. And that's why we have to open the virtual academy, which is not at the same school. And so there are regulations as far as productive hours, etc. And so Angela can answer, would be better equipped to answer the question specifically as far as packets. But we will have a virtual Learning Academy meeting that's just on that topic on May 13th, to be more specific with that, because we know that lots of people have questions about what that learning environment will look like, as well as could they transition back to their home school should they choose to return. So Angela, can you answer that question, please?
And Dr. Rodriguez, oh, sorry, Angela, are you there?
Yeah, it's okay. Trying to do two things at once. So the way that independent studies works, we do the from the homeschool and homework packets with short-term independent study. For long-term independent study, which is the only way that we can offer the virtual option, they do have to enroll in an independent studies program because of the way that the ed code works and the way that we submit for our ADA, the legal way, that's the only way that we can do it. So in our current independent studies program, we don't do packets. We like to make sure that our students are afforded face-to-face instruction, tutoring, those kinds of things, and it's tailored to their needs. So a lot of ed code is wrapped around the independent studies piece.
Ms. Castillo, was that all for your questions?
No, because how are they gonna handle the COVID absences? Like if my student goes to campus and then she gets sick, she's gonna have to stay home and then get homework packets anyway. So how many absences can she have before you get her in trouble for, you know, a family full of COVID and she has to stay home for a certain amount of time?
Hi, this is Marlene Bikendova. I'm over attended. We do not have guidance yet in terms of if a kid gets COVID, but absences, you know, a student will get a letter after 3, 6, and 10 absences, and then a student is chronically absent when they're missing 10% or more the school year. So when in a special case, let's imagine a student has great attendance, and then all of a sudden they get COVID, and of course they miss a week or 2 weeks or whatever, how, you know, depends on how severe. Then we work with those kids. So we know that, oh, you've had great attendance. We know that this illness happened. We absolutely work with kids with illness. My department does that, and we're very understanding when stuff like that happens. So COVID is a special case. We've been working with kids during this year, not too many, but a few cases here and there. So we will work with you if that happens.
And will parents have to sign a waiver? Is the district going to be held responsible if there's an outbreak and our students get sick?
So we'll be working with San Bernardino County Department of Public Health in the event that there's COVID cases at the school. They will deploy a team, as will the district, to do contact tracing and investigate that. So it's not really a cut and dry answer, but it will be investigated, and we will follow the guidelines that are coming from the County Department of Public Health on how to handle that.
It doesn't answer if we have to sign or not.
You will not have to sign a waiver at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carol Husband, go ahead and unmute and ask your question, please.
Yes, I too have a couple of questions. First one is, when will we know what teachers are going to be returning to on school? I have a child with an IEP and she needs to meet with her teacher before school starts. So I need to know when I can schedule that. Also, I have another student that's in middle school, and will what will transitioning look like in middle school? I mean, I know they changed classes, so are they going to be doing the cohorts where they move to different classes altogether, or will it be just like it always has been in the past? The other thing I wanted to know too is what will lunches look like? How will the kids go in for elementary or middle school? How will they go in with masks on, sit down and eat? Do they have to be separated? Do they have to keep distance between each other? How is that going to happen? And then also wanted to know too, because I know you said at the last meeting that there will be on-site testing for anybody that exhibiting COVID symptoms. Will it be rapid testing? Will it be something that takes a couple days? How long will that take? And somebody already answered one of my questions. Also about assigned schools. I mean, I know you're saying that we're supposed to be having plenty of teachers assigned to the school, but is there a possibility that if there's not enough kids signed up to return in person, will my kid go to a different school, or will we be going back to the assigned school that we've always been assigned to? And then lastly, I had a question about the laptops. Since we'll be continuing to use the laptops, does that mean the students won't be, doing any more textbooks in classrooms, or will everything continue to be strictly on the computer? That's all the questions I have yet.
Okay, so I don't know if we got all of those, but I'm going to take a few. Okay. I'm going to take the question about if there's not enough teachers, would you be assigned to a different school? And that answer is no. Whatever your home school was when the shuttering of schools happened last March, that will continue to be your home school, so not to be concerned about that. In terms of the laptops, it is not our intention to have students on campus in person, but experiencing a distance learning experience next year. That's not the plan. So the laptops will be used like they were used before, where they're a teaching tool and a tool where students use them to produce their own work products, but not to take the place of a teacher. So it will very much be like what we did before, but the teachers will be even more comfortable with it. So the students will be more comfortable with it, but it's not the replacement of the teacher and what we can do when we're in person. So those, I think, are two questions that I could answer. I honestly lost track of some of them, but I think others were listening. So we'll jump in and out.
Thank you, Dr. Menards. I'll jump in here on the teacher question. And I believe you asked about when teachers will return. And we are coming up on our summer break at this time, though many will be participating in summer school. But the teacher, as we prepare for the 2021-22 school year, the start of the school year for our educators begins at the end of July, around July 27th. However, the first day of school wouldn't be till August 2nd. That's what we have down. So in terms of working with parents and working with scholars, that first day is in August. And I hope that answers your questions around teacher reporting back.
I'm sorry, one quick. Actually, it kind of doesn't, because we meet before school starts. So will there be an opportunity to meet before? That's kind of the question. Sorry.
I got you. So thank you. I think I'll answer it like this and then have Dr. Menards or Dr. Lundy chime in on that part in terms of meeting with parents for IEP purposes. I do know that during the teacher work days, there are 2 designated. And during those teacher work days, sometimes teachers opt to have different sessions for parents or orientations and things like that. So there might be a possibility of that, but I do not want to miscommunicate anything around teacher meeting with you for purposes of an IEP or preparing for an IEP or anything like that. So Dr. Menards, I don't know if you want to weigh in there.
I can jump in if you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you like. So the IEP process or meeting the teacher would be a gen ed function as well. So I think the process would be the same in that because I'm thinking that you you want to talk with the teacher so that you can prep them for what special accommodations they need. And so you probably want to have a conversation. And so those would actually be a regular teacher meeting. So it would be the same process. We'll wait for the teacher to be on board. Now, if you want to have a special IEP meeting, we can definitely set that up, but you would go through your actual school site. But I think ultimately what it is that you're asking for is you want to be able to talk to the teacher, have a conversation with them so you can let them know what's in your child's IEP and make sure that everything is set up for them prior to them starting school. That's my understanding.
Yeah, that's it, Ms. Lundy. Thank you.
Yes, and so as soon as that happens, I know the school principal can set that up. And I don't necessarily know that needs to be an IEP meeting, but it definitely is a good practice. So any parent that wants to do that with their child's teacher is obviously, on top of it. So any way that we can assist you from the department will definitely be available to do that as well.
So the next few slides that we have in the presentation are dedicated to the virtual academy. If you have a question about the virtual academy, can you put your hand down so that way hopefully we'll be able to answer it in the presentation. If it had to do with the information that we presented earlier, keep your hand raised, and that way we can close up this part so that we can continue on in the presentation. We have virtual academy information that we want to be able to provide you, as well as special education information. So if you have questions about the virtual academy or further questions on special education, please put your hand down and we will answer those after we review that information.
Dr. Rodriguez, there were a couple questions around lunch. Can I respond to that?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's going to depend on the school site, how large the area is that where students are served lunch. It can include that they may eat in their classrooms, or if the weather's good, they can eat outside in the shade structure, underneath the shaded area. So each site will develop their own plan. So when you attend your town hall for that, you'll get more clarification on how the lunches will be provided and where the students will be to eat them. Does that answer your question?
Sort of, I was just kind of really trying to see if there's going to be any guidelines of them having to sit 6 feet or 3 feet apart. So
we'll follow the guidelines when schools, whatever those guidelines are at that time.
Okay.
Thank you. Jessica Ragland.
I'm sorry. I did have a few more questions that weren't answered.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll take the one on the COVID testing. I did put it in the chat, sorry.
Thank you.
So we are getting rapid COVID tests provided by the state of California, and those will be used at schools if we have concerns, and also always in permission with the parents. So we won't be doing rapid COVID testing on kids without parents being advised and providing that permission, but we will have the ability to do that.
And then there's just one other question about the middle school and high school transitioning between classes.
So is your question, if I remember your question, it was, will they be transitioning like we did in the past, or will they be doing it in cohorts? Was that what it was?
Yes.
Okay, so as of now, so what we actually went and we visited a school district that is currently has students on campus, and as long as students are moving quickly, right? So they're not hanging around, and for the most part, the students are doing that. We're going to do our best to minimize the congregating of students. And schools will be having their own informational meetings. I know there's been a lot of questions of that in the chat. Schools will be having their own informational meetings starting May 17th through May 24th. So please look at your school website, listen for robocalls, all that's going to be coming out. So you can get the details of what it looks like for your particular school or the school your child's going to be going to. And they'll let you know what that's going to look like for their particular campus. So we will be doing our best to minimize the integration of students as they're moving to classrooms and moving them along, if you will. And the guidance at this point is around minimizing large groups of congregation less about the cohorting, because we've looked, the science has come out to let us know what that means for students. So not quite what you and I experienced when we went to school, although I probably am a little bit older than you in terms of what our transition looked like, but similar, not exactly though. So we're calling it a modified procedures is what we're looking at. But you'll get a better idea of what that looks like when you log into your actual school, because every school is so uniquely different.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Jessica Regland, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
I had two questions. Actually, the first one was, I think someone had mentioned before, but I wasn't sure if they got an answer. I have asthma. It's not as bad as it was when I was younger, but it is still there and it does flare up occasionally. So due to that, some simple like smells or things in the air can trigger like sneezes or coughing and things like that. Would that cause me to be like sent to the office or like to get like tested or something like that? Or would those things cause for like action from the teachers, or would it kind of be ignored because it's like in the system that I have it and I normally have an inhaler at school?
It's a great question, Jessica. And we want you to be safe and comfortable at school and not worried about that. And we're all living now in this environment where if you sneeze, you know, you get kind of, you know, everybody looks around, and we don't want you to feel that way at school. So it may be a conversation that you have with your teacher, or they may, you know, the first time send you up to the office just to have a private conversation with you, just to determine that it's asthma or allergies, which we all know we're coming into that season. So, but it wouldn't trigger everything COVID right off the bat or each time. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very reassuring. And then also, for my school, I think as I said before, I go to middle college high school, and our schedule is kind of connected to Valley Community College schedule instead of like the regular high school schedule. So things concerning like some of the basic information that you guys have provided, would I need to take that up with my school specifically, or like with my principal in a meeting or an email? Or would this information be general to everything, including that?
So middle college does speak with Valley College, and we're all following this the same guidance from the state of California. I would recommend that when middle college has its informational night that you attend, and if there's anything that you're still not clear on, then shoot your principal an email. But I would start there, and again, we're all following the same guidance, so the implementation of it should look pretty similar.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Diana Cabrera, go ahead and unmute so you can ask your question, please.
Hi, good afternoon. I know that this is a question that has been like asked a lot and you have answered, but it's about starting in school doing the virtual and then changing back to regular school. You said that yes, it's possible. What about the other way? If you send them to school and you seem that it's not really working, can you change them back to being in home learning basically? Another question that I have, I asked a question on the chat and I got answered, thank you. But the same to that question comes like a million questions to it. I'm sick, I have cancer, so my immune system is weak. So if, let's say my kids were to get the COVID and they don't have the symptoms or anything, because I mean, that's what they believe. If I get it, it cannot, it's not guaranteed that it's going to be the same. I might be at a higher risk. So are they going to let us know if, let's say, a kid from the same classroom where my kids are is infected where they let us know. I don't want like to say, oh, so-and-so got infected. I just want to know if they will be like, oh, you know what, one or two kids from the same classroom got infected. So just so we can know and have that information and keep that in mind. Will that be something that you guys consider? Also, I'm thinking on sending the kids wear the face mask and the face shield. So both things, will that be an issue? And I know that they said that they're gonna have like the cleaning stations and the sanitizer everywhere in the school and everything. Can I still send them with the bottle of sanitizer, like a small one for personal use? Would that be an issue?
Good evening, Ms. Cabrera, and you know, we understand. Thank you for your questions. We do understand. You know, these are all hard decisions that we're asking our community and families to make. So thank you for asking. As it relates to the face shield and face mask, absolutely, that's appropriate if that's what you choose to do. The hand sanitizer, if that's what you're speaking of, your child can bring it. We will be providing it. We will be cleaning. So as far as the hand sanitizer, that's fine as well. And then as it relates to a potential COVID exposure in a classroom, so we will be following the California Department of Public Health's and the county's Department of Public Health's guidance as it relates to notifications. So it's very likely that we would notify the other occupants of that classroom. And then with that notification will come an opportunity to get tested. So for yourself and your students, it'll be an opportunity to get tested so that you know, you can have a little more ease as to how the exposure went. So I hope that answer your questions for you.
It does. Thank you. And okay, like I said, if I send them, I feel guilty. If I don't send them, I feel guilty too, either way. So I think that a lot of us parents have our anxiety all the way to the top because we don't know what to do. And that's me right now. I'm like feeling guilty because they want to go and they're telling me, Mommy, I want to go. So I don't want to keep them from that. But at the same time, I'm really scared. So if we decide to send them, like keep that in mind, and something happens, can we go back and say, you know what, this is not what we thought it was going to be? Can we go back to in-home learning, or that won't be an option?
Yes, Ms. Cabrera, your questions and your fears, we hear you and we understand, and we're very appreciative that you're letting us know how you're feeling, because I'm sure that there's so many other families that are feeling the same way. And so yes, you can have a student go from virtual learning to in-person learning, or in-person learning to the virtual learning. You know, we're trying to be very flexible with that, knowing that situations are changing, and you know, every home has a different, every family has a different situation. So we will do our best to make sure that we have programming that will meet your needs, to keep you safe and to keep your kids safe. So yes, you can do that.
Okay, thank you so much. And once again, thank you for your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So we're at 7:32, and I know there's still some questions, but we want to make sure that we're honoring the time that we have together, because we're going to end at 8 o'clock. And so we still want to get this information out so that you're aware of the virtual options for students, as well as information around special education. If we continue with the questions, we may not be able to finish the presentation, and you may not have the information that you need to make your decision as far as where you would like to place your child. So I hate to ask you this, but if it would be okay, we'd like to continue with the presentation so that we can provide this information to everybody. We have about 169 participants on the line. So we want to make sure that we get this information out to everybody, and then we can continue with the questions at the end. I'm so sorry that we're not going to be able to answer everyone's question right now, but we do want to make sure that we get to all the information and provide it to everyone that is on.
Dr. Rodriguez, we also have the texting option, so I'm going to continue to put that information on the chat for parents that have additional questions.
Okay, so Courtney, please keep your hands raised, so don't take them off, so that we want to make sure that we get to your question, but we want to make sure that we're continuing with the presentation. So next up we have Courtney Weber, who will be giving information around the virtual academy.
Yes, thank you. So the virtual academy will offer 3 options. We are going to have the TK through 8 teacher-led virtual program, K-12 online virtual program, and then the TK through 12 traditional independent studies program. About enrollment. So students will be transferred from their current school of enrollment to the virtual academy. Right. Students who choose to return to their current school of enrollment are not guaranteed a spot at their previous school. Students may stay enrolled in the virtual academy while waiting for a spot to become available at their previous school. And Mr. Buckner is on with us, Leonard?
Yes, thank you. My name is Leonard Buckner. I'm the Director of Enrollment and Placement Services. And thank you, Courtney, for kind of going over the enrollment piece. The enrollment will occur through our Aries Parent Portal. We will be opening up the selection window from May 13th through May 30th. Also, if you don't do anything, if you're like, I'm not worried about virtual, I want my child to go back to in-person learning, you don't have to do anything. We will automatically schedule you into in-person instruction for the 21-22 school year. But if you are considering the virtual option, that's what you desire for your student, then you would go in through our Aries Parent Portal and select alternative learning options for 21-22, and then you'll be able to select the virtual academy. And that's how we will know what the interest level is for the virtual academy and making sure that your student is placed accordingly. Again, especially if you're in elementary school, if you select the virtual option and then you want to go from virtual option back to that school, an elementary school where you were at, if that grade level is full, is that capacity and whatever grade level that may be, you would be, and you wanted to go back to in-person learning, you would go to a school that had space for your student. So I just want to make sure that we are clear on that. And that's pretty much it as it relates to the enrollment process.
Thank you, Mr. Buckner. Okay, so we're going to talk about programs. A lot of people have been asking, will we have dual immersion, GATE, Vanguard? The simple answer is it depends. So it's going to depend on how many students are interested in those programs. So we don't know just yet, but we are working on that. We've had a couple questions about sports, so we're still looking into that. And then graduation. So I know there was a question in there asking, can my child still graduate with my neighborhood homeschool? So we are working on that. That is our goal. Next slide, please. All right, so the first option is the TK through 8 teacher-led virtual program. This mirrors what we're doing right now with distance learning, daily live instruction with a teacher. So every day your child would see a teacher. They would have digital textbooks, curriculum, tutoring, and individual supports will be available for this option. So again, you see a teacher every day, very similar to what we have now. Next slide. So then we have the K-12 online virtual learning. It's very similar to what some charter schools offer. So we have digital curriculum, daily instructional support with a classroom teacher, daily office hours where teachers are available to support if your student has questions or you as the parent have questions, and tutoring and individual support are available. So what's the difference between option 1 and option 2? This option offers an online curriculum that is different than the district adopted ones we're using. So this is called Edmentum. And so your child would be working with an online curriculum. And so again, that's different than what we're doing in distance learning. And so they pace themselves. It's almost like a student pace. They will go through the curriculum at their rate. Next slide. Okay, so finally, option 3. And Ms. Castillo, I think this is the one that you were referencing to about packets. So TK through 12, traditional independent study. This is the one that we typically see where people assume the kid just takes a packet and does work. So this one does not require checking in with a teacher every day, and it does not have instruction from a teacher every day. So this one is on a weekly rotation for the most part. Students get their assignments, curriculum, they take it, and then they check back in at the end of the week. So this one requires a lot of independence, like motivation to get things done. So we use adopted curriculum. There is teacher support and you can meet with the teacher more often, but again, we really look at this one like weekly check-ins. And then tutoring and small group support is absolutely available. We created websites in English and Spanish. We put them in the chat, and we have a town hall on Thursday. We're still working out a lot of details, again, like sports. Let me share this. Current practice students will be able to get lunch at their nearest school site, like a grab and go thing. So they will still get meals. We're working on staffing with human resources, and we're figuring out programs based on how many kids want to participate. Next slide.
Thank you, Courtney. And so in order for us to do something well, we want to make sure that we're not spreading ourselves too thin. So at this point in time, we will not be offering a hybrid learning model. So the choices are in person or a virtual learning model with the 3 options. There will be no blended learning next school year. Next slide. Dr. Lundy.
Good evening, everybody. I am Dr. Lundy, Director of Special Education. So I just want to talk a little bit about the special education program. So just a few hot topics. So teachers and students will establish and promote a culture of hand hygiene, and the use of shared equipment will be limited. So as you know, within our special education classes, we have smaller class sizes, and there are sometimes the use and the need for hand over hand. So those things will still happen, and we'll make sure that our students as well as our teachers are protected, as I mentioned before. Students with disability must not be excluded from educational environments. So if their disability prevents them from wearing face coverings or being able to do meet all of the guidelines, just know that per CDE, as well as with our board policy, we have provisions in place that can be worked through the IP so that your students can still attend school with those accommodations. So we just have to go through the process to make sure, ask the questions, can they use the mask correctly? Can they avoid frequent touching and mask to their face? Will it limit sucking or drooling or having excess saliva in the mask? Remove the mask without assistance. So if these things cannot be done in place, and as we do an assessment of that child within that classroom, then it will be determined that that child would not need to use a mask, and we will have to put other provisions in place per their disability to figure out how to make sure that they're included. So the short answer is, if your child cannot wear a mask, yes, they still will be included. And then it becomes the responsibility of the school site as well as my team to make sure that they are safe, as well as the people in the classroom are safe. In addition, our in-person services like speech and RSP programs will still be provided to students in person, as well as within the virtual option as well, with appropriate face shields and our mask, PPE, and cleaning in between sessions. So I know there's a lot of conversation about moving in the cohorts. So depending on how the different school sites are running their programs, we have different options for how we can access those services. So our RSP teachers, as well as our speech teachers and our school psychologists, have special masks. They have special, we'll provide them with gloves and other PPE devices, paraphernalia, so that they can make sure that they're able to interact with their students appropriately. Also, there is a question about sensory rooms being utilized with proper masking and social distancing and disinfecting. So as we know, sensory rooms for a lot of our students who need that need to be made available. And so with that being said, we still will have that as an option, with the understanding that a lot of our equipment that we had in there prior to COVID, we may have had to take out. We just have to make sure that the things that are in there are able to be disinfected regularly, and we would limit the number of students that are able to use it. However, all students who need it will have access. It just needs to be monitored. Next slide, please. So different services, as I mentioned before, all of the services that are in your IEP, we are still bound by FAPE and the law to make sure that those services are provided. So one-on-one services, even today, if you have a one-on-one in your IEP, we're still doing that via in-home. But based on your individual plan, we will maintain their mental and physical health and safety for the purpose of accessing learning. So therefore, any of the services that are current in your IEP, even if we had to adjust them to meet COVID guidelines, we will make sure that those things are fully implemented when you go back in person. And if you do choose the virtual option, we will have to hold an IEP to make sure that the services match whatever option you choose for education. Will parents have the option to continue to meet their IEPs via Zoom or through Google Meet? So that's one of the great unintended consequences of Zoom, is that we were able to learn and gain a new platform by which to hold IEPs. So ultimately, it will be the decision of the parent. So if you feel comfortable continuing your meetings through Google Meets or Zoom with your IEPs, that is definitely a platform that we can continue to use, because we found that a lot of parents are able to come to those meetings easier having it being done online. And based on the recommendation from the California Department of Public Health, and our SPED classes will not change for the typical academic year. So with the help of our union and with our district leadership, we had already, prior to COVID, decided to lower our class sizes. And as a department, we're committed to making sure that we have appropriate class sizes to meet the needs of our students. So it's just a natural progression, like even with our class sizes, we still meet the COVID guidelines for the number of students that can be in the classroom. And even as with our more severe students, as they matriculate from one class to the next, we've met with all of the individual teachers in those groups to make sure that we have the appropriate staffing, as well as the appropriate accommodations within those classrooms to make sure that they're meeting the guidelines. And so that is it for, hopefully I've answered a number of your questions that you had around special education. And I also intend to attend the virtual academy meeting to help support in any way with those questions as well. Thank you.
Okay, so Selena, let's go back to questions. So I know that we have several people in the queue to ask some questions. Just go ahead and go to the next slide. As we've been mentioning about the virtual academy, we will have an informational meeting on May 13th from 6 to 7. We will also be available for questions. If you call our offices, we will work with you to provide you as much information as possible. We want to make sure to provide you some flexibility. We're trying to make sure that we offer as much as we can. So if you have questions about the virtual academy, more in-depth questions, please join us on May 13th from 6 to 8. So let's go ahead, Selena, and go back to our questions that we had people in the had raised their hands.
Hi, Dr. Rodriguez. This is Kathleen. I'll be supporting with calling people. Francis Cruz, go ahead and unmute so you can ask your question.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I actually texted, so I don't know if you guys are having a bit of a lag with that or not. So I don't know what's easier, but I can definitely ask you guys real quick. So I actually got a link from a parent of mine whose child attends the San Bernardino School District about the summer school link. It said it was full, and I just did this on Saturday. She just told me that morning. So I don't know if that's something that is completely full, or if you guys can help me with that. Also, I did write in earlier at the top of the meeting about preschool enrollment for my son. I have not gotten anything from that as well. So I would like some information about if that's a Head Start or is that a completely separate entity. My son attends Cole Elementary. I did enroll him in CAPS. I did get a notification on my Facebook through the San Bernardino School District. I never received confirmation that he was enrolled, similar to Ms. Reyes from earlier. I actually submitted an application twice just to ensure his spot. I've yet to receive anything, so I'd like to know if I can get something, or other parents experiencing this as well. And I'm curious about Sunrise. Sunrise for CAPS, I don't know if Cole offers it, and if they do, what would be the hours? Thank you.
So I can answer the question around the summer school.
Thank you.
That link was, we have turned off that link on May 7th. However, if your friend, as you said, needed to, wanted to go to summer school, they should be calling their student school, their homes, the school.
Oh, she got in. I couldn't get in.
Oh, I apologize.
Sent me the link. Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so Ms. Cruz, you can call your student school where they attend, and they should be able to help you and walk you through. And I don't know what their spacing is, but they should be able to walk you through on the summer school piece.
And something I should have mentioned, he's in an SDC class. Is this still available to SDC students? Don't know if that's an issue or not.
So depending on, it's not an issue, but we do need to know what type of SDC class, because we do
It's mild to moderate.
Okay, so and if he's not already in ESY, he can definitely attend summer school. And
Okay.
you still would contact your actual school. Yeah,
Okay.
and with that, the school contacts me as well. So if there's any services that he may need,
Perfect.
I can help him
Will
with.
do.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then also, Ms. Cruz, in regards to your question about Cole does not have a sunrise program.
Okay.
And then also hearing from one of our coordinators, Shauna Hoover, information about CAPS. They will finalize the rosters the first week of June, and then the parents will be notified by email.
Okay, so we don't get a confirmation because I clicked the little toggle. I'm just worried about getting a spot, if I'm being quite honest. Because I've done it twice. I clicked the thing and I didn't get anything.
Okay. And then Kathleen, if you can unmute Mr. Warman, he's trying to respond, but he's unable to unmute himself.
Go ahead, Mr. Warman. You should be able to unmute now.
Hi, yes, we are finalizing our rosters, and thank you for clicking that button to get the notification. But if you give me your name and your children, I will I'll check them in the morning.
Should I send it through the chat?
You can do that. Yes.
Okay, I'll send it through the chat. Thank you.
Just send me your name and your children's name, and I already know it's Cole.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Mormon, we're looking at the text messages and we're going to relay that information to you. So she should be on there.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Right now, because of prior to registration, and we really don't, we need more students in our program. Okay, so it's pretty likely that they'll probably be in. That we will always do everything we can do to get our children in. Okay. So
thank you so much.
But I'll make sure that they're already in the system, and we'll go from there.
Awesome, I appreciate it.
No problem.
And as far as preschool, I will contact you directly in the morning to get you enrolled.
And it's not Head Start, is it? Or is it something completely different?
No, this is SBCUSD preschool. We have one at Cole.
Perfect, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Was that all the answers to your questions, Ms. Cruz?
Yes, it was. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We do have one more question on CAPS here. If you go to the San Bernardino City Unified School District's website and go under student services, look up CAPS, there's a list of schools that have sunrise programs.
Thank you, Mr. Warman. Kim Zamora, go ahead and unmute so you can ask your question.
There you go. Go ahead.
Good evening. Just had a question in regards to children that are vaccinated. Will there be any incentives provided by the school district for those children that are vaccinated? And two, if my child decides to get the vaccine, if he is exposed to COVID or someone tests positive, will he be tested? And if he tests negative, will he still be allowed to attend in-person class?
So great questions. And I maybe need a little more information when you speak about incentives. As of today, vaccines will be available for ages 12 and older. It'll be the Pfizer vaccine. The FDA announced that today. So our county will begin that as soon as possible. And you can, we'll be pushing out some more information. What we're trying to do is partner with the county to get mobile vaccine sites out into the community. So you can follow both the County Department of Public Health and our school district social media to learn where those locations are going to be at. There are incentives that the county's doing, such as a system called, or a program called Fire and Ice, where they're ice cream and churros and fire trucks, encouraging the community to come out and get vaccinated. So those are some incentives that our public health department is doing. As it relates to your second question, the vaccine will definitely play a factor in how we handle an exposure or quarantine. And those will be individual questions at the time of an incident. So if we have a classroom that's been exposed and our contact tracers are reaching out to individual parents, that will be a question that's asked at that time. And that will play a factor in the speed in which the child's allowed to return based on public health guidance.
And what I mean by incentives is, just as an example, maybe less mask wearing in certain areas like outdoors or what have you.
Yeah, understood. Thanks for that. For now, we don't see a shift in that guidance, simply because we're not able to ask everybody what their vaccination status is. And in essence, that's what you'd have to do to allow for that. So within our school environment for now, until guidance changes, everyone will be required to wear face coverings.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mrs. Adela Soto, go ahead and unmute so you can ask your question.
Hello, good evening. My questions are regardless about recess. How is that going to play out for the students doing recess time? Are they going to be keeping their distance? Are they going to be allowed to play with their friends? And my other question is, if I have a student who goes to Rodriguez Academy, if he chooses not to go back to school and he chooses the virtual learning, would that be a good choice for him? Because I heard that if he goes to virtual learning, that he might lose his spot for the homeschool that he goes, but that's not his actual homeschool. He was awarded to go to that school. Those are my questions. Thank you.
I can take the question for Rodriguez Pratt. There is a wait list that is created when the students are actually provided admission into magnet schools. And if your child chooses to take the virtual academy, the same principles apply where they don't necessarily have to go back to the school of their choice. So the same principle will apply, and the child who is waitlisted and who wants to participate in in-person instruction would be provided that opportunity. We don't want a single spot in any of these magnet schools to be unfilled, waiting for the person to come back, the student to come back and take the place. That is the reason. We have a wait list in all categories for all magnet schools.
And then in reference to your question about recess here, and you're not the only mom who's been asking this, so that's probably your little one asking you. So the way the recess will work is that the students will be allowed to play outside on the playground. They will stay in structured playground location, so they can play with their own classmates. What will not happen unless something changes at the state level. But as of now, what will not happen is they won't be playing with a classmate from another class. So they'll play with each other, keeping the distance from each other. I've been asking my nephews and nieces how they're doing it in their schools. And so they've got games that they've learned how to play with each other. What did they call it? Shadow tag, and just different things that they can play where they keep enough distance from each other and still have fun. And so they will go outside, they will get physical activity, they will be asked to stay with their class, and and children do what they do what we ask them to do because they want to be at school. So that's the way we're going to do it as of now, unless something changes.
Thank you. Janina, I'm so sorry, Apodaca. So sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly. You can go ahead and unmute. Janina? I see that your microphone is on and you're trying to speak, but we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I thought my trying to figure this out. I had two questions. So first question is about the school meetings. Each school is doing their own individual meeting. If we're unable to attend that meeting, will they be posted online for us to view? And then my second question is about the tier programs, the 1, 2, and 3 tier for the, I'm assuming these are after they are assessed, but I was just curious because my daughter has an IEP and I'm not sure if I need to request that she be assessed for this because I believe she's going to need extra help going into the next school year.
Let me make sure. Yes, okay. So, oh goodness, the first question, I was ready to answer it and I lost it. I apologize. Will you repeat it again?
My first question was about the school meetings. If I'm unable to attend those meetings, are they going to have them available for us to view?
So what each one of our principals will do is they are going to create a video to explain everything that they will be doing at their school meetings. They won't be videoing or recording the actual meeting, but there will be a video posted on their website that you can access and even go back to.
Okay.
And then your second question was about the various tiers, and you think your daughter may need some additional support since she already has an active IEP, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so your daughter will get access to all of the supports that are at the school in terms of the tiers. There's nothing you need to do special on your IEP, except for maybe during your annual IEP, you might, the team may decide that she needs more. So let the school do the assessment and see where things are at, and then go from there.
Okay, because our annual is in the middle of is not until January.
Yeah, so depending on how her initial, the assessments come, so all of our schools will be doing that initial assessment for all of the students, and then determining where those needs are. So it is very much up to you as the parent. You can request a meeting earlier and move your annual up earlier if you'd like, or you and still work with the school to get the services in place. They don't necessarily have to be in the IEP for you to get what you need in terms of some academic support.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kathleen, it's 8:02 at this time. So we'll answer, there are 4 people with their hands raised. We'll answer those 4 questions, and then we'll go ahead and bring the meeting to a close. Again, we have a meeting on May 13th, which is our virtual academy information meeting. And we will answer additional questions around virtual academy. You can also continue to send in your text questions. So if you have a question, you can send us by text at any time, and we will get back to you by the end of the business day or the following day. So let's go ahead and continue, Kathleen. So we have the 4 with the hands raised.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. We're going to continue with Eden. Eden, go ahead and unmute so you can answer your question, please. Ask your question, sorry.
Good evening. I just have a question regarding the curriculum. I am planning on putting my high schooler in, I think it was the 3rd option for independent studies. My question was if the curriculum is going to be different from the school curriculum. He's going to be doing honors classes for this coming up year and trying to graduate a year early. So if I if the curriculum changes, is that gonna throw him off?
Hi, Eden. This is Angela. So the third option, the traditional independent studies, we don't offer an honors robust acceleration program, to be honest. I would recommend the virtual online learning. We do offer honors, and the person in charge of that program is amazing in making sure that if his child wants to excel and graduate early, she's very supportive and individualizes their plan. That is the Edmentum online curriculum, but it's got a lot more variety than we would offer at the traditional independent studies program.
Okay, would I get that information on the meeting that Indian Springs is going to have, or where would I get that information from?
Nope. So on Thursday, if you want to attend our town hall, the one that's being shown right here on the screen, we'll have more information on that. And then also when you go and you click in the Aries portal for your choice, that would be the online virtual program that you would want to choose if they're going to give you the 3 options. If not, if it's just the option for the virtual academy, then we're going to be reaching out to see exactly which option you choose. So either way, and then if you go on, I don't know if you saw the link to the programs, the website, but it's the person in charge of that program. Her information is on the who to contact if you have more information, and she is Josie Chambers, and she's the one who's really great at making sure that she individualizes those accelerations for those students. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie, I can't hear you. You're muted. You're still muted. Sorry.
I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. It wasn't letting me unmute myself. It kept saying the host won't let you unmute. Okay. I think someone just put their information in the chat for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and reach out. And also we're in contact with his counselor at Indian, which she's really awesome. And getting him to, I think he already signed a contract for all that. So thank you guys so much.
Good, great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, up next we have Kathleen V. Please unmute so you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. The first is, if I have a student who he has speech, and I know before COVID, even now, they do it in groups. Would the students be taking off their masks so the teachers can, the speech therapist can correct the way that their tongue is and so forth? And if they are, how would the kids be seated so that way they can safely do so? The second question I had is about if we choose the virtual academy for this school year and our students attend magnet schools, will they lose their spot at the magnet school for next school year? Will we have to apply for the magnet school? Because we already know our teachers and we love our teachers at our school sites. And that being said, if we choose the independent study, is that within each school site? So does each school site have their independent study so the kiddos can keep their spot? I don't know if that makes any sense or not. Thank you.
Absolutely makes sense. So the Independent Study Virtual Academy program is basically like a transfer of schools. So it's not offered at the individual schools. It's only offered because the way that we have to provide that information through the state has to be the Independent Studies program. As far as having your spot back for next school year, I'm going to have Suda answer that if she's available. Suda, are you available to answer that?
I'm here. Thank you. Thank you, Angela. So yes, as I previously mentioned, if your child is opting for a virtual instruction, because there is a long wait list for all these magnet schools, we may have to open that spot up instead of that spot being vacant, we have to just open that spot up to another potential student who is actually waiting to join.
So I don't know if you want me to jump in for the speech question. Okay, great. Okay, so far as speech, it's dependent upon the student's needs. So depending on the actual school site that they're at, if the room is large enough to have group, then they would do that in a safe environment. We also have special masks for the speech teacher that's clear so that the students can see their the way that their mouths move. And if for that particular session, if we need to provide that same type of gear for students, we will do that as well, so that because that's an important part. If we have to look at not doing group because of the COVID restrictions within that school, then we would go to individual, but we're also going to keep our online platform as well. So just depending on what the IEP is, what the school site is doing, as well as what your students' needs are, we just have to make sure that we are able to get to all of the goals within the IEP. So it'll be a combination of ways to make sure we address them, from specialized mask, appropriate spacing, and also those air filters that are in the room, within the room. And so group may not always be an option. Some of the group may actually have to be virtual, but we really have to see what the IEP says and make those appropriate accommodations.
Okay, thank you. Jessica Ragland, go ahead and unmute.
Sorry. Can you guys hear me right now?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. So my question was just going to be, due to the whole COVID thing, if someone is to be like out because someone in their family has gotten COVID or was exposed to someone with COVID, would the 14 days of, would that absence be excused by the school? Or would that entire time just count as unexcused absences?
Hi there. So we will have rapid testing available for students in case they're exposed. So we hope that kids are not out for 14 days. But if a student does get COVID and they're out for whatever number of days, illnesses are considered excused absences. And we would definitely consider that if a student was missing a lot of days and we had to go through the SARB and SART process, that kind of thing. So we're going to be looking at COVID absences and dealing with each case as it comes. So a case-by-case basis. Does that help any?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And then for our last question, we have someone under the name Spice. If you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Yes, my name is Spice. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Thank you.
Okay, so Mike, I have just a couple questions. My first question is for the virtual learning. If my child goes do the virtual learning or whatever, can he have a specific teacher that he's still with now, or does he have to go with whoever you guys pick for that district or whatever? And then my next question is, you guys have been stating on the chat about the Aries portal. I don't have an Aries portal for my child at all. I never signed up for one. I never got one. So personally, I'm trying to figure out how am I supposed to receive the May 13th to the May 30th deadline for this if I don't even know nothing about a portal that you guys even gave out. Those are my two questions.
So I can answer the Aries parent portal question. This is Leonard Buckner. If you can maybe, I don't know if you text it, or you can give me your name, your student's name, and your phone number. Somebody from my team can work with you on securing a parent portal for you.
Okay, so you want that right now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so sorry, I was reading the little chat. My son's name is Liam. He goes to Emerton Elementary.
Okay.
And my number My number is 909-837-0020.
And your name is, what was your name again?
My name is Spice.
Spice. Last name, I'm sorry.
Oh, Williams, my fault.
Okay, Williams.
Yes.
And your son's name is Lim Williams?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And what grade?
He will be going to the 3rd grade. He's in the 2nd grade right now.
3rd grade. Okay.
Yes.
Somebody from my team will be making contact with you tomorrow to assist you with the parent portal.
Perfect.
All right.
And as far as the teacher question goes, if Dr. Funches wants to speak more to this, but currently working on a process for teachers to apply and transfer into the virtual academy. And so it's definitely not a guarantee that your child will have the same teacher that they would have next year if they stayed in their current school.
Okay, so my question would be for you would be, if he would not be able to have the same teacher, would I know more information would be the same school, or would it just be a random district with only the virtual kids like that?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay, so my question is, like you said, he might not be having that same teacher, correct? So if he don't have that same teacher, would the same teacher be in the same district as him or in the same school as him, or he will, oh, okay. So,
okay, so think of the virtual academy like a separate school, but
okay.
it's in our district. We're just expanding what we currently offer so that more children, if they want to have that option, can have that option. So that means that we have to hire, get other teachers that are currently at schools that would like to teach in a virtual setting to come over to that school, but it's all within the same school district.
Okay, so the same curriculum is okay.
Yes.
Okay, and then sorry, I have another one question. So then the materials that I currently have for him, I'll be getting all new materials for the virtual, right? After I do the survey and everything?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, that's it, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all your questions. We have, it is now 8:15, 8:16. And I want to remind you, if you have another question that we didn't get to, please text your question and we will respond to you the same business day or the following day, because we want to make sure that we answer all of your questions to the extent possible. At this time, I'll pass it over to Dr. Menares. Again, our virtual academy meeting will be on May 13th, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez, and thank you, parents, for being here with us. We did go over a little bit again. Well, that seems to be our pattern, about 17 minutes over time. Please watch for the school informational meetings that will give you a snapshot of what this will look like for your child when they return to school. We were very careful not to have schools doing it on the same night. So most of our middle schools, most of them will be Wednesday, May 19th. Most of our elementaries are Thursday, May 20th. There's just a few that had to do them on a different day for a different reason. So please do check with your school. They're sending that information out. Our high schools were a little different because they had to manage around their senior schedules and all the great things going on for the class of 2021. Again, they will get that information out, and then we will also be from the district level promoting the dates and times starting at the end of this week. I believe, Ginger, is that accurate? Please send me a text if I'm wrong. So be on the lookout for those school informational meetings. It'll give you a lot more information. We thank you for being here tonight. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Volkemer if you'd like to give any closing words.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Menares. First, I want to thank our team, all of the assistant superintendents and executive directors, directors, everybody that was here in support of our parents this evening. As is very apparent from everyone and all the different types of questions, there are many moving parts, and we understand that. And we understand that you have very, very important decisions to make as parents for your kids. We want to support you as best we can. We obviously have to make some decisions about living within the means and the resources we have as a school district, but we want to accommodate as many people as we possibly can. And by being here tonight and sharing your questions and your comments, it helps us learn what's on your mind, what you're thinking about, and that's very important for us as we seek to accomplish that ability to accommodate you. So thank you very much for being here. If you have additional questions about virtual, please join us on Thursday evening at 6 o'clock for our next virtual academy. And we look forward to a great close to the year and a great summer school program, as well as opening strong for 21-22. So thank you very much. Have a great rest of your evening.